Our scripture reading this morning comes from the Gospel of John, chapter 21, verses 15 through 19. Again, speaking of the risen Christ there on the beach with his disciples. When they had finished their breakfast, Jesus said to Simon Peter, "Simon, son of John, do you love me more than these?" And he said to him, "Yes, Lord, you know that I love you." And Jesus said, "Feed my lambs." The second time he said to him, "Simon, son of John, do you love me?" And he said to him, "Yes, Lord, you know that I love you." And Jesus said to him, "Tend my sheep." He said to him a third time, "Simon, son of John, do you love me?" And Peter felt hurt because he said to him the third time, "Do you love me?" And Simon said to him, "Lord, you know everything. You know that I love you." And Jesus said, "Feed my sheep. Very truly I tell you, when you were younger, you used to fasten your own belt and go wherever you wished. But when you grow old, you will stretch out your hands, and someone else will fasten your belt around you and take you where you do not wish to go." He said this to indicate the kind of death by which he would glorify God. And after that, Christ said, "Follow me." So ends the reading of our holy word. There is a scene from Christ's ministry that must have been repeated hundreds of times. It's a scene that I can picture in my head so easily. In my imagination, I see him there, Christ standing up on a hillside, and him being surrounded by a crowd. A crowd of people wanting to get near him, wanting to get close to him. And at first glance in this scene, the crowd seems to be pushing in, and there seems to be chaos. But then we look more carefully at the picture. And we see that there close to Christ on the top of the hill are a few of the disciples. And they are leading people in to see Jesus one by one. And then we look down the hill and we see other disciples. One is speaking to a crowd and telling them about Jesus. Another two are bringing healing to someone. Another one down here is praying, and two more are arbitrating some dispute. It is a picture of the disciples and Christ all working together, and I love this picture. I suppose I'm a bit envious of those disciples, being able to do their ministry there, and to be able at all times to look up and to see Christ close by. To know that if there is something they couldn't handle, then they could take that person to Christ. Some need that was too great for them, that he was there close at hand. I imagine that the disciples must have become experts at this kind of ministry. Over and over again, they would have ministered to people in this way, spreading out into the crowds and helping people one by one to see Christ and to know Christ and to bring healing into their lives. It must have been so hard for the disciples. When Christ died, and when they knew that that ministry would not continue, it must have even been hard for the disciples after Christ was risen. And to know that, yes, Christ would be with them, that they would feel him in their heart, that he would always be present to them in their ministries, but it would never be the same as it once was. No, their ministries would change. Their ministries would have to change. They would become completely different from what they were. They would no longer have Christ there to guide their every steps and to be their backup in case there was something they couldn't handle. But then, just as Christ was transformed through his death and his resurrection, so was his relationship with his disciples. And that's good for us to know today, because yes, it's so easy to look back at those times of ministry and to be envious of the disciples, to be able to minister with Christ so close at hand. But there would be a transition to where the disciples would have to minister the way we are required to minister today. Feeling Christ. Praying to feel close to Christ as we minister to others. Praying to be inspired by Christ's presence to actually get up and to do that ministry and to start it. But the transition had to be made from one to the other, and that's what I believe is one important thing that's happening here in the 21st chapter and final chapter of the Gospel of John. Jesus is transitioning his disciples from being dependent upon him being there to being dependent on feeling his Spirit there instead. There's so many beautiful and inspirational parts of this chapter. But I believe the one that I read just a moment ago, where Jesus speaks to Peter, also speaks to us today, as so often happens in the gospel. As Jesus talks to Peter, he is talking to all of us. How are we to go forward in our lives without Christ present physically to us, but with Christ always in our hearts? With Christ always ready to inspire us, and two, with Christ here to transform us and to heal us before we go out and heal others. Christ prepared his disciple Peter in this way. What did he do? What did he ask to prepare Peter for his ministry? To prepare him for the future. The past, oh yes, the past can be so attractive. We can think about how wonderful it was back then. But all our ministry that we can control now will happen in our future. What does Christ do then to point his disciples toward this uncertain future? What is the question that he asks? Does he ask, do you believe in me? No, he doesn't ask that question. He had asked Peter that question before, and he had gotten his response to it. An important question, yes, but asked and answered, yes, Peter believes in him. What did Christ need to know now? To go forward, belief important? Absolutely. But there's more. There's more. What did Christ ask? Did he ask, do you know me? Have you studied the Old Testament? Do you know the scriptures that predict my coming? Do you know what it means to be Christ? What it means to be the Messiah? What it means to be God's Son? And what it means to be a disciple? No, he didn't ask him that, though that is all important. Did Christ ask, do you fear me? No, fear is a powerful motivator. And for a long time, people's main motivation may have been their fear of the divine. But it wasn't fear that Christ was looking for in that moment. No, of course not. What was it? What was it that was going to lead Peter and the rest of the disciples and all of us into our future of ministry? What was going to inspire us? What was going to drive us forward? It was in Christ's question, do you love me? Do you love me? But it's easy for us to get caught up on belief. How strong is our belief? How strong is our faith? And again, that is an important question. But for Christ in this moment, pointing forward, it is the experience of love that is most important. And so Jesus asks Peter this question 3 times. And just as Peter denied Christ 3 times on the night that Jesus was arrested, so Peter would have the opportunity to confess his love for Christ. 3 times there on the beach. And after each of these confessions, yes, Lord, you know that I love you. Christ said to Peter, then tend my sheep. Feed my sheep. Continue my ministry. Continue seeing to those around you, seeing to those needs that exist in this world. It is as if Jesus was saying to him, you used to minister because I was here, telling you to minister, showing you how to do it. But now, you have to feel me with you. And how do you feel me? It is through the love that we share with one another. Yes, belief is important. Our first act as Christian folk is a statement of what we believe. But we cannot stop there. Stop simply with dogma and with belief. We have to feel it. It is one of the great promises of our faith that we share God's love. The love that God feels for his Son, God feels for us. The love that Christ feels for us, we can feel for him. And perhaps amazingly, most amazingly of all, the love that we share with God, that draws us close to God, that makes us feel close to God, that makes us want to worship and to pray and to study and to do our very best for others. That's a love that we can share with one another. That is the mortar of the church. That is one of the great blessings of our coming together each week. Yes, we are joining together in one belief. And here at our church, it is the one belief that Jesus is the Christ, is the Son of God. And it is good to join together with other people who believe what we believe. But if that is all we are doing, then we are missing out. For we can, and we do, share God's love with one another. It is God's Spirit, Christ's Spirit, here and now that makes that possible. It is Christ's Spirit that enables me to look out at you right now. As a congregation, as a family of faith, and to feel that love for each of you. And to know that you share that love with one another. Do you love me? Christ asks. Yes, Lord, you know that we love you. And it is our love of Christ that enables us to minister to this world and to minister to one another. It is Christ's love that inspires us to do this. Our love for Christ and Christ's love that we know he has for us. That's what keeps us going. And that is why we can continue to serve others and be with others that we really would just as soon ignore in this world. That is why we are able to continue serving others who are at times angry and ungrateful. But we continue to love because we are not in it to be thanked by others. We are in it to share God's love. And that's what keeps us going when we are discouraged. It may not be our belief. We may have moments in our life where our faith is at a low point. But we can still feel God's love in our hearts. It can still inspire us. It can help us keep going. And it can help us to serve those around us. You love me. Yes, Lord. You know that I love you. You know that we love you. Then feed my lambs. Tend my sheep. Continue this ministry that we have started together. And it's not just healing to others that this brings to us. It is healing for ourselves. One recent study showed that people who have a belief in God, strong belief, but who believe God is distant. God is far away, and God doesn't care a whole bunch about us. When these people pray, they actually feel worse when they pray. Think of that. To believe that God is distant, to believe that God is basically unloving. No wonder prayer does not bring healing into their lives. The people who see God as close, who see God as loving, when they pray, they experience healing. They feel better from their prayers. And when it comes to our spiritual lives, so much depends on our faith, yes, and our belief, yes, and our knowledge, absolutely. All of these things are important, our discipline as well. But the foundation is the love that we share with Christ and that we then share with one another, the love that is expressed so beautifully each Sunday at this table. It is the love that transforms us. It is the love that heals us and makes us whole and inspires us to do our very best for those around us, bringing healing and wholeness to others. Christ asked Peter on that morning by the lake as they sat around the campfire after breakfast, "Do you love me?" And that question rings down to each and every one of us today. It is a question whose answer can transform us, can inspire us, and help us and enable us to bring great change into this world. As we answer in one voice, "Yes, Lord," you know that we love you. Let us bow in prayer. Loving God, you have given us so much. But Lord, today we say especially thanks for the gift of your great love, given fully and completely through your Son, Jesus Christ. Loving God, help us to grow in our relationship with you by helping us to feel that love each and every day, experiencing it, and sharing it with others. In Jesus Christ's name we pray. Amen.